No question. Alcohol perpetuates anxiety. It just does. And anyone who has experienced anxiety knows that to be true.
Yeah.
You get this temporary illusionary relief in the moment as you drink it. But the very thing you are drinking to relieve yourself of stress and anxiety is what is actually causing you stress and anxiety.
Yeah.
You've got to get off the merry-go-round. You have to get off the merry-go-round. I invite you to get off. You are a record stuck playing the same tune, going round and round and round. You have to like take the needle of the record player and go and scratch it.
Yeah.
And play a different tune.
Yeah.
Play a different tune. And I get that it feels challenging because the alcohol has become like a freedom blanket. It's a friend. It's a relationship.
Yeah.
But it's a toxic relationship.
Hi, I'm Dr. Jodi Richardson, and this is Well, Hello Anxiety. In a world that often moves too fast, we're here to pause, breathe, and understand anxiety together. Each episode will explore practical strategies, share honest conversations, and uncover the science behind anxiety and well-being, all while creating a space where it's okay to not be okay. Let's continue this journey together. When was the last time you paused to think about your relationship with alcohol? Not necessarily because of a problem, but maybe just out of curiosity. Or maybe Dry July is something that's coming up and has got you thinking about your drinking. Also, if anxiety is part of your life, like you know it is a part of mine, this episode could change everything for you. There are so many other reasons that people consider taking a break from alcohol: better sleep, clearer thinking, more energy, reduced risk of cancer, just to name a few. But winding back alcohol intake or giving it up together is so often easier said than done, especially when it's part of a daily routine, a really big part of your social life, which can make it even more difficult, or even part of your identity. It's a topic close to my heart. I gave up alcohol over a year ago, and the impact on my sleep and anxiety has been profound. That's why today's conversation, I'm so excited to talk to this guest. And it's not only because James Swanwick gives us 2 degrees of separation between some serious A-list celebrities. He is a leader in the area of sobriety coaching and sleep optimization, and is going to share with us so many insights and strategies today. I am joined by Australian-American entrepreneur. James is a former Hollywood correspondent interviewing stars like Brad Pitt, Angelina Jolie, Kobe Bryant and David Beckham. He was an ESPN Sports Centre anchor and is now a leader in, as I said, sobriety coaching and sleep optimization. He's the founder of Alcohol Free Lifestyle, host of the podcast by the same name, and creator of Project 90, helping high achievers transform their relationship with alcohol. And you should read the reviews about James' Project 90. They are absolutely wonderful. So it is a huge pleasure to welcome you, James. James is joining us from Colombia, where it is the evening. It is morning here in Melbourne. Thanks so much for sharing some of your precious time with us today.
Oh, you're so welcome, Jodi. Thank you so much for having me.
It's a pleasure. Really, it is. It's such an important conversation. And I know that you have a new book called Clear, which I want to talk about sort of more towards the end of the episode, although we probably touched on it during our conversation. But the very first chapter is rewriting your story about alcohol. And it got me thinking, I'd really love to know, what's your story? What led you to doing this work that you do so well, changing lives around the world?
I grew up a socially acceptable drinker in Australia. In Brisbane, when I was in my final year of high school, I would start to drink, and then I had the schoolies celebration where I got drunk, and then as I entered the workforce, drinking was just part of the culture. We'd go and meet out at the pub on a Thursday and Friday night, sometimes extend it to the Saturday. And in my 20s, I drank the way that people in their 20s would drink. I drank pretty heavily on the weekends. And during the week, I would always have at least a couple of drinks, like almost every night of the week. At least 2, maybe 3 drinks and heavier on weekends. And I drank like that pretty much from age 16 right through until age 35 when I was living over in the United States at that time. I'd since left Australia and moved over to Los Angeles, California. And I was actually visiting Austin, Texas. I was at that year's South by Southwest annual festival in 2010. And I went out to an industry party and I had 2 Bombay Sapphire gin and tonics. I went to bed in my hotel. I woke up the next day, I looked in the mirror and I just felt and looked blah. And blah means mediocre. It means I had weathered skin. I was about 15 kilograms overweight. I was tired. I was envious of other people. I was jealous. I wasn't sleeping great. And I attributed most of that to my alcohol consumption. And I made a commitment that day, that morning, that I was going to take 30 days off alcohol just to try to do a reset, just to see if I could feel a little bit better. And that's what I did. And in 30 days, I lost 6 kilograms. I attracted a great romantic partner. I stopped being envious and jealous. I calmed down. I got rid of my stress. I slept better. The opportunity to audition to become a Sports Center anchor on ESPN. And Sports Center on ESPN is like this iconic US television sports news show. To my bewilderment, they gave me the job and I thought, well, this not drinking thing's pretty good. I think I might just keep on going. And it's been 15 years. That was 2010. It's now 2025. I have not picked up a drink since I made that commitment on that Austin, Texas morning all the way back in 2010. And then since then, I've just made it my mission to really support people to, at very least, rewire their mindset around alcohol and have a better relationship with alcohol, and at best, have them quit entirely like I have.
Thank you for sharing that. And it was a real moment, wasn't it, when you looked in the mirror and actually reflected? You were obviously feeling, I mean, you said you'd had 2 Bombay Sapphire gins, so you probably weren't feeling terribly hungover, but in that moment, you made a decision. But I'm curious how you were able to, after having such a history of drinking so regularly, almost daily, how you were able to go cold turkey. And you hear about, dry July and people taking a break and then returning, even feeling all the benefits returning to drinking after a break. What was it about your mindset that helped you to hold firm, and what was it like kind of when those urges came to drink? Or did the urges come to drink, or was it just like this absolute, I am so determined now to make a change because I've been feeling terrible? How did that all unfold?
Most of my awkwardness around it was socially in the first 2 weeks. I remember I went to the Jones Bar on Santa Monica Boulevard in Los Angeles, where I was living at the time, and I went with my friends Zach and Tom, and we would ordinarily go to this bar and have a couple of drinks. I might have a wine, a Bombay Sapphire, I might have a beer. And we went on this Tuesday night, and it was a week into me stopping drinking. And, I shared with them that I was trying to get to 30 days. And Zach went to the bar and got a round and came back and gave me what I thought was a soda water, which is what I requested. And as I started to put the soda water to my mouth, I looked at him and he had this kind of suspicious grin on his face. And I said to him, did you put vodka in this? And he went, yeah, I did. And I thought, wow, that's so extraordinary that even my best friends here are not really in alignment with this desire of mine to get to at least 30 years alcohol free. And this was back in 2010.
Yeah.
And that was a big wake up call, very interesting. Also, about a week after that, I had a date with a lovely lady named Andrea, and I invited her out to the same bar. And I was so conscious that she might think that I was an alcoholic if she learned I wasn't drinking, that I got to the bar 10 minutes before she arrived, and I did a deal with the barman. And I said, look, when I order a drink for my date and for me, could you just make mine a soda water? But, I'll say a vodka soda, but can you just make it a soda? And then just, obviously get her whatever she wants. And he said, sure, I got you. And so I had this date and she had a couple of drinks and I had 0 alcohol, even though she thought I was drinking alcohol.
Yeah.
A few weeks later, we were at that year's annual Coachella music festival outside of Los Angeles, and one of her friends said, hey, James, I'm going to the bar. Do you want me to get you a drink? I said, oh, no, actually, I haven't had a drink in 3 weeks. And Andrea said, oh, yes, you have. You were drinking on our first date. And I went, oh, actually, no, I wasn't. I was alcohol free. And she said, what? So you misled me. You lied to me. And I'm like, oh, yeah, sorry. I was feeling a bit awkward about it. And I just thought it would be easier just to kind of, let it slide. And that was an energetic break. She didn't trust me after that, and we didn't continue dating. So that was interesting to me as well. It's like I'm getting punished for sharing with my friends that I'm not drinking, and I'm getting punished from withholding from romantic partners that I'm not
Yes.
drinking. So
Yeah.
that was a pretty awkward start to it. But to answer your question, after those first 3 or 4 weeks, I started to feel the incredible benefits,
Mm.
clarity, focus, energy. And once I'd got over that initial social awkwardness, like I just described, then it became, oh, I wonder how long I can go because this is like the gift that keeps on giving.
Oh, the social side of it is really tough. And I think that you'll probably find that and amongst the people that you coach and that work through your programs, no doubt they're the things that you coach around amidst the many lessons that you're teaching. But that was certainly my experience as well. And even when I met you, I said, off air before we started recording, I've given up drinking. Not that it was a big problem for me, because I do feel as though when I say I'm not drinking, that people will assume that I was blotto every night, or that it was a really huge part of my life. And whilst it wasn't, I am so delighted to have stopped. But equally, like you, found it really hard socially. And something that helped me, which is something I'd love to share, is that I was listening to a podcast and somebody said that they just say, "Oh, I'm a non-drinker," and that's just a flat, easy statement, and it just puts it out there. And then the questions come, and often there can be a little bit of pressure. And I even had one friend say, "Well, how long is this going to last for?" And I said, "Well, I don't actually intend on ever being a drinker again." And yeah, so it's as the saying goes, the only drug that people will pressure you into trying to take or give you a bit of grief about not having as a part of your life. So thank you for sharing. Thank you. You were saying that the clarity that you experienced, the change in your energy, even the jealousy and the comparison, which is just so human, that settled down. You just felt so much better about yourself. Can you talk to us about what's changing in the brain? We can talk about it either what's happening when we are drinking from a neuroscience point of view, or what's the difference when we stop drinking. I'll let you approach that from whichever angle you would like. But giving
Mm,
up alcohol, it's a significant thing for some people to do. And there's so
mm.
many benefits. Can you talk us through what's happening in the brain and the body as well?
Well, let's start with what alcohol actually does to us that's detrimental.
Yeah.
And what most people might be surprised to learn is that even one seemingly innocent drink of alcohol per night is enough to destroy gray and white matter in the brain, which is extraordinary.
Mm.
There was a 2022 study that came out of the UK of 36,000 middle-aged adults, and it showed just 7 standard drinks a week, just one innocent drink a night, is enough to cause some level of brain degeneration.
Wow.
Now, that should be a massive wake-up call
Mm.
for everyone. Look, we're 2025. The claims that came out in the late 1980s that a glass of wine a night was good for your heart health have been debunked so many times over the years. And yet we as a society keep clinging on to that study or those studies because we want to keep drinking our attractively packaged poison.
Mm.
Because make no mistake, that's what it is. It's attractively packaged poison.
Mm.
And just before I answer your question as to what can happen when we stop drinking, first of all, let's just list what happens when we keep drinking. Alcohol is a poison. It's toxic to the body. It takes 7 to 10 days in most cases for the body to rid itself of all those toxins. Alcohol raises the risk of breast cancer in women. It lowers testosterone levels in men. It causes libido issues in the bedroom. It kills brain cells, restricts brain growth, leads to a leaky gut, causes us to gain weight, gives us a fatty liver, underperforming kidneys, high blood pressure, disrupts our sleep, increases our appetite. It just goes on and on and on. Anecdotally, my mother is married to a lovely man who's 83 years old. He has dementia. I don't have any scientific proof or medical proof, but anecdotally, I'm convinced that the speed with which his dementia has come on has been in part because of a lifetime of him drinking 2 or 3 drinks a night. He has always been lovely, never aggressive, hostile, doing silly things, but just 2 innocent drinks, 2 or 3 a night for 60 years of his life. I'm convinced that's caught up with him. So, that's the reality. And a lot of people mistakenly think, oh, I'm not an alcoholic, so that's fine. Just a couple of drinks, I'm fine. Well, don't be so sure. And that's what I talk about in my book, Clear, because I've thoroughly researched alcohol and its effects now for a decade. And like I keep saying, seemingly innocent amounts of alcohol over many years and decades add up to feel like death by 1,000 cuts.
Yes.
It's not obvious always in the moment, over weeks, months, or maybe even a couple of years, but over many years and decades, wow, you really start to notice it. I haven't got to answer your question, which is what happens when we stop drinking. Well, the reverse happens. Our body and our brain has now got time to relax, to heal, to restore. We are less irritable, less anxious. We sleep the way nature intended us to sleep. We wake up in the morning and we go, oh, I feel pretty good. Maybe you're not skipping down the street singing zippity-doo-dah, zippity-day, my, what a wonderful day, but you're certainly not dragging your backside through the day, feeling lethargic and tired and irritable and stressed and anxious. That just seems to just fall by the wayside. When we drink, our dopamine receptors get lit up like the 4th of July, like a firework parade on Sydney Harbour on New Year's Eve. Fireworks. And the problem is that as we drink more over time, we need more and more of that alcohol to try to get the same 4th of July, Sydney Harbour Bridge, New Year's Eve reaction. But then over time, it keeps dulling and numbing these dopamine receptors to the point where when we stop drinking alcohol, we have this huge sense of loss. Like, I just need alcohol to feel good or to give me that surge of dopamine again. Whereas the reality is, and what my life's work is to show people how they can get that dopamine release and feel joy, like a consistent release of joy and fulfillment throughout their life, instead of this big spike up of happiness and joy and then a crash, and a spike up of joy and then a crash. That's really the difference between drinking and not drinking.
It is. It's like day and night. And the waking up the next morning, it's not just the way your body feels and the hangover, or you've had terrible sleep because it's been so, I mean, people might say, but I sleep fine. It's, perhaps they pass out, but then the quality of sleep is affected. But there's a lot of shame and regret that plays into it as well, isn't there, for a lot of people, like reflecting, oh, what did I do the night before? How much did I have? What did I do when I was inebriated? How did I behave? How did I show up amongst friends or even colleagues? And so, can you tell us? I know that culturally here in Australia, there's a real culture of drinking. You can see that when Mother's Day is coming around, there's a lot of advertising for wine, or even pajamas with glasses of red wine printed on them, and just this idea that, oh, mum needs a drink, and obviously it's a big part of Australian culture. Culturally, have you found, because you've obviously spent a lot of time in Australia and a lot of time in the United States, and you're in Colombia now, how are you finding the Australian culture compares to other cultures in which you've lived when it comes to alcohol and drinking?
Australia's right up there in terms of having this ingrained cultural idea that alcohol is perfectly normal. Alcohol is necessary to create fun, enjoyment, bonding, celebration, romance, commiseration, trying to relax after a hard day's work. Yeah. I mean, I grew up seeing all these kind of TUI's commercials and Forex commercials in Queensland and VB commercials, and it was always the same. It was always these kind of knockabout lads and guys who were finishing a hard day's work, and then they'd go back to the pub and they'd have a cold one and they'd sort of smile with their colleague and just drink back a beer. Or there were ads that were very funny and humorous. And so the association is alcohol equals a good time and bond and connection. And I would submit that you can create good times and fun and laughter and a bond without the alcohol, without the attractively packaged poison. But the culture in Australia is such that it's almost deemed as necessary in order to watch the footy on a Sunday or to have friends over.
Yeah.
I mean, how rude would you be if you invited friends over for a barbecue and you didn't offer them attractively packaged poison?
Yeah.
I call those people smiling assassins. There are smiling assassins everywhere. It's the waiter or the waitress who greets you at the restaurant, says, "Oh, hello, Dr. Jodi. Can I get you started with a glass of 10 pounds of unwanted body weight? Oh, hello, Mr. Swanwick. May I get you a glass of irritability and regret in the morning?" That's essentially what they're inviting you to do, because that's what alcohol does. And of course, you know, I've hosted people over to my house. I want to be a good host. And of course, I want to make sure that they feel welcomed as a guest. And in the past, I've said, "Can I get you a wine? We've got beer, we've got spirits." And, you know, we're well intentioned, but nevertheless, we're smiling assassins. Yeah. We're inviting our guests to drink something that is compromising their life. Now, your listeners might be listening to this going, "Geez, ease up, mate. What are you talking about? Just have a good time. Relax already. We're only talking about a couple of drinks or a bottle of wine here or there. What are you going on about?" Yeah. That was my very thick Australian accent there, Jodi. But again, is it that innocent? Is it harmless? And I would submit anyone who's really engaged in our conversation so far, who's listening in, who's exploring how much they drink, most people I would suggest are probably going, "You know what? I'm pretty sure I drink more than what I should.
Yeah.
More than what I could. And I'm pretty sure it's compromising at least some areas of my life." So Australia is definitely up there. I've seen parts of America, having lived in California, New York, and Texas, where it's celebrated just as much as it is in Australia. In Ireland, it's fascinating. You know, we associate Irish people with being big drinkers, and yet Ireland actually is at the forefront of all of the cultural change that's going on. Ireland are rolling out cancer warnings on alcoholic bottles towards the end of this year. Canada, big drinking country, they're rolling out cancer warnings. The US Surgeon General in January of 2025 said that in the next 4 or 5, 6 years, America's going to follow suit and put cancer warnings on alcoholic bottles. So there is a tidal wave of cultural change that is just beginning. Millennials have never drunk less. They're drinking less than any previous generation. There is a huge increase in alcohol-free drinks brands popping up everywhere. I know there's a couple of big ones in Australia. And so, Australia and Ireland in particular, you would say big drinking cultures, Ireland's leading the charge in some respects. And thankfully, I'm seeing a lot of Australians make changes as well. I'm seeing these early morning sunrise parties now on Bondi Beach where they have a DJ and people come for sunrise parties and it's drug-free, alcohol-free, and then people swim in the ocean and go for a run afterwards. There's change happening, Jodi.
It's brilliant to hear that. And the cancer warnings on the packaging are so important. And it's terrible to think that you're consuming something that is carcinogenic, but it is a level 1 carcinogen. Am I right in saying that?
Yes. Alcohol has been linked to at least 7 cancers. 7. Let that sink in.
Yeah.
That's a lot. That's a lot. Here's the other thing. There was a study out of Scotland in 2012 that ranked alcohol as the 4th worst drug behind only heroin, crack cocaine, and methamphetamine. And then in 2020, there was a study that came out of Germany which had similar results. It ranked alcohol as the 4th worst. But then there was a study in 2021 out of the UK which ranked it as the worst. So the worst to society and the worst to an individual, above heroin, crack cocaine, crystal meth, alcohol, cocaine, inhaled solvents, nicotine, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera.
Wow.
Did you know that there are 400 million estimated people in the world who are experiencing an alcohol use disorder? 400 million. Now, for context, only 80 million people are estimated to experience any other drug use disorder. So put that into perspective. 80 million drug misuse disorders, 400 million alcohol, and yet it's available on every street corner, supermarket, It's in all of our homes. I remember I was in Australia for much of the pandemic. I was in Brisbane at the time,
Yeah.
and I saw one of the most hypocritical, ridiculous things during that pandemic and during those lockdowns. They had these two words that the governments were all rolling out: essential services.
Yeah.
You know what was considered an essential service?
I do. The bottle shop.
The bottle shop.
Yeah.
So you've got all of these companies and businesses that are shut down, and the essential services include the groceries, gasoline for your car, a couple of other things like that, and the liquor store, as they call it in the US. And I was just sitting there going, what is going on in the world? Now, you know what a consequence of that was? I'll tell you, Jodi. In the years since the pandemic, there was a 24% increase in alcohol-related deaths across the world. 24% increase in the years following the pandemic, because we were all locked at home, and what did we do? We all drank more than what we ordinarily would.
Yeah.
And I get it. I understand. We felt isolated, right? We felt restricted. Drinking alcohol almost became like a comfort blanket, a friend, an ally, especially to those who were isolated, living by themselves. Yeah. But that's the consequence. 24% increase in alcohol-related deaths. Now, look, I have an organization that helps people to quit drinking alcohol. We have a coaching program. We use neuroscience to rewire the mindset of people. It gives me no joy to say this, but my business has been booming since the pandemic because so many people increased their drinking during that time, and now they've waited another year and another year, another year, and finally they're putting their hand up going, I'm still experiencing the consequences of my increased drinking during the pandemic. I have to stop. I'm going to get a divorce. My kids don't want to talk to me. I'm not present with my kids. I'm irritable. I'm stressed. I'm meandering in life. I've got high blood pressure, acid reflux. I'm not sleeping well. I'm on antidepressant medication. I'm drifting through life. That's all a consequence of our alcohol consumption.
And it's very easy to say, next week, Monday, I'm going to start Monday. I'm going to do better. I'm going to change my habits. But it's not the sort of thing that is easy to do on your own. But before we get to talking a little bit more about what people can do, and obviously you've got an incredible program that's so effective, I want to just address this idea that it is a real antidote for stress, because that is what a lot of people, their dopamine centers are lighting up when just after lunch, when they're feeling very stressed. They think, oh, I'm going to go home and have a really nice drink. I'm going to have a glass of wine. And all of a sudden the body is like responding to that, even though the alcohol might be hours away. And this pattern that so many people are in. And look, I was in it for a while, and Peter and my husband and I, we were having a G&T. Bombay Sapphire was the poison of choice for us too, that we would have a G&T every day. And that was certainly not the way we operated with our drinking. We would normally just have a gin and tonic or two on a Friday night. That was kind of our routine before COVID. And so for people listening who are going, I'm so stressed, and like, how can I cope if I don't have that? Can we speak to that?
Well, let me tell you what's going on in the brain. Okay, so alcohol initially boosts dopamine and GABA, making you feel relaxed. But then your brain rebounds with more cortisol, which is the stress hormone, to restore the balance. So while you may feel better short term, it actually worsens your stress baseline over time. Alcohol disrupts deep and REM sleep, which are critical for emotional recovery. Poor sleep makes you more anxious, reactive, and tired, creating a vicious cycle of stress and alcohol use. Alcohol numbs emotions, but doesn't solve them.
Yeah.
Drinking delays dealing with the real issue. The stress is still there the next morning, except this time in the morning you've got added shame, brain fog, and a shorter fuse. True stress relief comes from habits that process emotion, not suppress it. So that's something for people to really ponder there. It creates this illusionary and temporary relief, but then we have disrupted sleep. We wake up tired, irritable. We then want to get a sugary substance to try to give us an energy boost. So we have the Kit Kat or the Mars bar or the Snickers bar, or we get the bagel with cream, or we get the Starbucks in the morning and we add some cream to get a bit of a sugary boost just to get over our tiredness. And then, of course, that causes a sugar spike, and then we crash, and then we want to eat more food. And so we're eating unwanted calories, and then we're tired and we're exhausted. And all we want to do is just get to the end of the day when we can what? Relax with the drink.
Yes.
And the vicious cycle continues, and we get stuck on this perpetual cycle of drinking and crashing and thinking about drinking and pondering drinking and recovering from drinking and lamenting the drinking, and then debating with ourselves about the drinking, and then planning for drinking, then drinking and recovering from drinking, regretting the drinking, and so forth. And it's just on and on and on for days, weeks, months, years, and decades.
Yes, decades. How consuming is it of a person's thinking, energy, time, and joy when you because it is not just when you've got the glass in your hand, as you so beautifully put it. It's this cycle of looking forward to it, purchasing it, planning for it, drinking it, bearing the consequences of it, whatever they may be, and then that cycle continues the next day when you wake up hungover, full of regret, and then trying to find a way to help yourself feel better through other poor choices. Yeah, it's the freedom and having, like, life is just so different on the other side. And I do want to talk about anxiety before we talk about kind of people thinking, right, look, I knew some of this. I've had guests before talking about alcohol. Perhaps the cancer risk is the thing that's going to change it. Maybe the realization that this is a cycle that you as a listener may have been in, and that this is the episode where you're like, you know what, actually, I keep saying I want to change. Maybe today's the day that you'll maybe make a different choice and maybe do something courageous and different to free your life. Anxiety is a big part of my life, the lives of listeners, family members of listeners, and we certainly know that alcohol is certainly something that people can lean on when anxiety is a big part of their life. But I'd like you to share with us, please, what are the ways in which alcohol is making anxiety worse?
Alcohol can spike anxiety, especially with women during hormonal shifts like PMS, perimenopause, and it heightens the emotional volatility. Now, especially in women aged 30 to 55. I know that your demographic of listener, there's a lot of women in that age group. And, it's got this mummy wine culture, which is, mummy's stressed, got the kids, got the work, whatever's going on. So let's all get together and have wine together. Now, I like the community part. I like getting together. That I'm all for. Human connection is actually one of the quickest ways to reduce cravings for anything. But let's do it without this wine culture. Let's remove the attractively packaged poison, because that is just pouring anxiety on anxiety. Yeah. No question. Alcohol perpetuates anxiety. It just does. And anyone who has experienced anxiety knows that to be true. You get this temporary illusionary relief in the moment as you drink it. But the very thing you are drinking to relieve yourself of stress and anxiety is what is actually causing you stress and anxiety. You've got to get off the merry-go-round. You have to get off the merry-go-round. I invite you to get off. You are a record stuck playing the same tune, going round and round and round. You have to take the needle of the record player and go and scratch it. Yeah. And play a different tune. Yeah. Play a different tune. And I get that it feels challenging because the alcohol has become like a freedom blanket. It's a friend. It's a relationship. Yeah. But it's a toxic relationship. And this friend in inverted commas, doesn't want you to break up with it.
No.
Oh, but we've been together so many years. Oh, but you'll miss me when I'm gone. Oh, but don't you miss me like around 5 o'clock in the afternoon or 6 o'clock when you're preparing dinner?
Yeah.
Don't you want to be with me?
Yeah.
But you know what? This friend is talking about you behind your back. It's sabotaging you. It's putting on unwanted weight. It's causing marital strain.
Yeah.
You're not as present with your children, whether they're young children or adult children. Like the alcohol anxiety cycle is sneaky and it's self-reinforcing. You drink to take the edge off. Anxiety increases after that initial buzz. You drink again to calm down, and then you repeat. And it's a cycle that tricks you into thinking alcohol is helping when it's actually prolonging the problem.
Yeah. That idea of the glass of wine when making dinner is something that I started doing as soon as I had my own home because I'd seen my mum do it. It's very interesting what happens in families and the type, and my mum has an anxiety disorder. I followed in her footsteps because that was what was modelled for me as a pattern, as the norm. And it's got me thinking, I'm a parent of two teenagers, 17 and 15. Neither of my kids have had alcohol. We have really, really open conversations and neither of them have had alcohol yet. And what I know of friends who have kids of similar ages or older, there's come a time in their lives where their children have been going to a party and there's going to be alcohol available. And the parent is put in the position where the child says, I want to drink, my friends will be drinking. And the parent has said, I will buy you alcohol to take. You can have 2 drinks. Don't drink anything anyone else gives you. These are your 2 drinks. You can do what your friends are doing. But there's so much guilt. There's a lot of pain. There's a lot of difficulty around a decision where am I going to let my child go to a party where they're going to choose to drink something that somebody else is going to offer them, prepare them, and perhaps be problematic, versus being a parent purchasing alcohol for their child. And I wonder if you've come across this situation before. No doubt you speak to this frequently because we as parents, we're responsible for our children's brain health. We can role model good decision making for them. But we've got an opportunity as parents to change that culture and change that role modelling and to help our children have the joys of life without alcohol having to be a part of it at all, or at least not a big part of it. So what would you say to a parent who's in that very situation now and is feeling this, feeling really torn about the situation that they've found themselves in?
I would start by saying this. When we were little boys and girls, we had the parents in our lives or adult figures in our lives, and they implanted the idea in our brain that alcohol was a rite of passage. You may recall when you were a young girl, Jodi, either a mother or father or an adult figure said, oh, no, Jodi, you can't drink now. You can drink when you're older.
Yes.
And in that moment, little Jodi's mind created a story that, drinking's something that the older people get to do. I'll get to drink that when I'm older. And then, of course, that's perpetuated when you get into age 15 and 16. You're starting to finish high school and people are starting to drink. Then there's the celebration of schoolies. Then you go into university. You turn 18. You can legally go into bars and nightclubs and away you go.
Yeah.
Your parents or the adult figures in your life, they implanted that idea. They were the ones that put it in your mind in the first place. And so, first of all, we have to just acknowledge as parents that our parents or the adult figures in our life, they influenced us and are responsible in part to our drinking habits. We have ultimate responsibility, but they played a role. And so now you ask me the question, like, what should a parent do? Well, first of all, you just got to acknowledge that you're a symptom of what your parents did to you. And then I always say, look, telling a child what to do, encouraging them to do something, invite them to do something, it's probably almost always going to fall on deaf ears. Yeah. The best thing I think that someone can do is just model great behavior. Yeah. So let your children see you living and loving an alcohol-free lifestyle.
Yeah.
clarity, focus, energy. Share with them how great it is for you to be alcohol free. Not saying, hey, you should only have 2 drinks, or you need to stop, or you shouldn't drink alcohol, or you should do what I'm doing, but rather just embody what an alcohol-free lifestyle looks like.
Yeah.
Be the person you want your children to be. Behave in a way that you want your children to behave.
Yeah.
And even then, they're probably still going to go and do what they're going to do because they're their own people. And at that age, in their teens, they're trying to form their own identity. But you can influence them by not pontificating, laying down the law, giving directions. You can just share candidly maybe the consequences of your drinking, and maybe the beautiful results of you not drinking.
Yes.
That, I think, is the best thing that we can do as parents.
Yeah, thank you. I can't help but think of sort of my journey, and my decision came when it was interesting because I'd learned a lot more about alcohol-free lifestyle through being a podcast host and conducting interviews like this. And the first interview I conducted, Sarah Rusbatch, she reached out to me and said, "Look, I want to come on your podcast and talk about this topic." And I was like, "Yes, let's do it." From the moment I had that first conversation, that seed was planted. I think this is a decision I'm going to make. And I sat with it. The idea that we say as parents, "Oh, not now, but later," even just planting that seed, that it's coming for you, this is available for you, rather than this idea that, well, not now, because, if kids ask if parents having a drink to try it, and we know that we should delay it as long as possible anyway, but we don't have to say when you're 18 or when you're older or put it off as long as possible. It's just like, it doesn't have to be part of your life. And I, now without alcohol, I love, like, when I'm at a party, I'll be on the dance floor. Sometimes I'm the last one on the dance floor. Like, the joy of not drinking has been prolific in my life, and that, like you said, as a role model for our kids is the very, very best way to show them that life doesn't have to include alcohol to be fun, to be fulfilling, but also just that we've got the benefits for us, we've got the benefits for our families, and we can change some of these generational kind of patterns that you were talking about. I know that we've got limited time, and somebody listening might be thinking, "Hey, this is me. I'm actually ready. I want to make a change." What do you recommend to the listener who's thinking, "You know what? This is the sign for me. I'm about to sort of drag that needle across that record. I want to finish the pattern of drinking that has been a part of my life for a very long time." What do you say to that listener?
I would say 2 things. The first thing is an overarching invitation to view alcohol differently, and I'll speak to that in just a moment, and then I'll give you a couple of practical resources thereafter. The first one is this: see an alcohol-free lifestyle as more fun and preferable than one with lifestyle. Most people don't see that. Most people see not drinking as deprivation, boredom, being dull. Most people also have a lot of anxiety around, who will I be if I'm not Jodi the drinker, if I'm not James the good time? Because their identity is wrapped up in, I'm the party girl, or I'm the party guy, or I'm the host, or I'm the networker, I'm the connector, I'm the person who's always smiling and just having a couple of, seemingly innocent drinks.
Yeah.
And to then suddenly face the reality that you're no longer going to be holding that glass of attractively packaged poison, it's an identity shock. And I get it. There's a lot of resistance around that. Here's the thing. I haven't drunk alcohol since 2010. No one would ever accuse me of being dull or boring. I've had more fun, more excitement, more joy, more connection, more dopamine release than ever than I did in my drinking years.
Yeah.
Like, it's like compound interest. Each year that you go alcohol free, your level of fulfillment increases. It's not necessarily this big kind of, like a heartbeat goes up and down, right? Like when you see it on a monitor, it's like beep, beep. It goes up and down, up and down, up and down. Now, most of us are chasing pleasure. And pleasure goes up, but then it crashes.
Yeah.
And then you chase it again, and then it goes down. You chase it up and it goes down. And you're stuck on this vicious cycle, just always chasing pleasure, but experiencing the pain of the drop from pleasure. Whereas when you're alcohol-free, this fulfillment and this joy just grows little by little, and then it turns into this exponential growth the longer you go, because now you've got clarity, focus, energy, you're sleeping well, you're more connected, you're present with your husband or your wife, you're present with your children.
Yeah.
You start living a life of appreciation instead of expectation. You might remember at the beginning of our conversation, I talked about how I stopped feeling envy and jealousy. That just fell away. I started appreciating what I have instead of feeling a sense of loss because my expectations of life were not met. It shifts. So the first thing really is to see an alcohol-free lifestyle as more fun and preferable, not deprivation. You don't have to hide from society, lock yourself at home, throw away the key. No, you get to run even more into society where alcohol is present. Open bars, parties, celebrations, and you just have the most fun being alcohol-free. Yeah. This is not about avoiding alcohol. Yeah. Events where there is alcohol is present. No, it's about running towards events, whether there's alcohol there or not, and loving being alcohol-free. So that's the first mindset invitation I would make. Second thing practically is it's a lot easier to become alcohol-free in a like-minded community. Not a community, a like-minded community. Now, I would submit an AA meeting is not a like-minded community. It's a community, no question. Yeah. But if you're a 30-year-old or a 40, 50-year-old middle-aged woman and you are educated and articulate and you're running a family and you go to an AA meeting, you may be sitting next to a 19-year-old meth addict who's holding up petrol stations. And you're hearing that person share his or her life story. And of course you support that person, but there's no relatability there. Yeah. And do you really want to get in a car and drive to an AA meeting? Now, most people listening probably don't think their drinking is that bad that they would go to an AA meeting. Plus, why would you go there and be forced to say, hi, my name's Jodi and I'm an alcoholic, when you are not an alcoholic? Yeah. The reality is the term alcoholic and alcoholism no longer exists in modern medicine. It's alcohol use disorder. Yeah. Alcoholism and I'm an alcoholic, you are very much fixed in an identity. Yes. And most people listening to this podcast don't relate to that identity. Yeah. You know you're drinking too much, but that doesn't mean you're an alcoholic. So where does that person go? Well, there's not much room. Where am I going to go? It's not bad enough for AA. I'm definitely not going to rehab. What am I going to do? Go and join the mummy culture and the wine club? No. So a like-minded community is key. Get friends together who want to stop drinking together. Make it fun. Stop planning evenings out with the girls and start planning mornings out with the girls. Morning hikes. Have a juice. Walk on the beach. Walk around the park. Like-minded community. But even then, I would still encourage people to get coaching. Yeah. Now, I am biased because I have an organization and a coaching organization that supports people. People come and they join our organization. It's called Alcohol Free Lifestyle. We have a flagship 90-day stop drinking process called Project 90. The University of Washington conducted a scientific study on this process in 2022, the result of which was a 98% reduction in drinking amongst all of the study participants. That's an incredible reduction in drinking. Yeah. And part of the reason is because we put like-minded people together. In this sense, it was people over the age of 35 and a common desire to get to at least 90 consecutive days alcohol-free and having it feel simple and fun and pleasurable, not deprivation and pain and suffering. Yeah. So practically, I would say get into any coaching program, whether it's finding someone back in Australia, whether it's reaching out to my organization, whether it's getting your friends together and say, let's do this for at least 90 days, not 30 days. These 30-day challenges like Dry July and Sober October and Dry January, look, they're well-intentioned, but the challenge is this. When you do those 30-day challenges, what are you doing? You're depriving yourself of something that you would ordinarily choose to drink, just waiting to get to day 30 when guess how you're going to celebrate?
With a drink.
With a drink.
Yeah, yeah.
What was the point of doing it if you're going to celebrate with a drink? It's like these challenges, these 30 days, dry Januaries, they're great in essence, but they're lousy in making long-term change because you're going into it feeling like a prisoner. And what do all prisoners want to do? They want to break free of prison.
Yeah.
So the way to do this is not feel like you're in a prison living an alcohol-free lifestyle. It's to feel the freedom and the joy that comes from living an alcohol-free lifestyle. Now it can be a long-term strategy, a long-term lifestyle, a style of life.
Yes. Yes. It is the abundance in life beyond alcohol it's just there waiting for you. It's just there waiting for you. And James, you are supporting thousands of people around the world. An online coaching program. It's phenomenal because anyone can come from their home, from the comfort and safety of their own home, and be a part of, as you say, a like-minded community where everybody's got the same goal, and it's the mindset is about enjoying life without alcohol rather than this idea of sacrifice and just kind of like white-knuckling it through each day. And so the very final question I've got for you before I really want you to tell us about your book as well, because that is another way that people can get the benefit of more of your expertise. But when it comes to non-alcoholic drinks, do you have a favourite recipe or drink that is your go-to at the moment?
Yeah, well, there's a whole section in the back of my book. I'm holding up the book to the video here. For those who are just listening to the audio, I'm just holding up the cover of my book, which is called Clear. And I'll just show you, Jodi, in the back of the book, I think there's like a dozen pages here of awesome, delicious alcohol-free mocktails that you can make. Let's have a look. Ginger spice fizz. Ingredients: agave syrup, coriander, cayenne, orange peel, rose oil. Mix the ginger ale with some agave syrup. I mean, this sounds pretty damn good. Cranberry lime splash, classic sparkling lemon water, a tropical mock Rita, Perrier cranberry, a virgin mojito, a ginger cucumber mint, sparkling cranberry lime and water, minty seltzer. Then there's a whole lot of non-alcoholic beer things here. So there's a whole section there in the back section of my book, Clear, where it outlines a whole lot of delicious mocktails. I know there's some great options in Australia as well for alcohol-free beers. And so they're my go-to. Personally, I like just soda water, ice, and a piece of lime. I go into any bar, restaurant, say soda water, ice, piece of lime. When the lime comes, I squeeze it in, stir it around. I drink that. It is incredibly refreshing and delicious. Sometimes I'll ask for some mint. I'll put mint in it as well. It's beautifully hydrating. I don't have to worry about tossing and turning in the night. And when I wake up in the morning, I feel great. But yeah, all of those recipes are in the book Clear, and you can find that we're online where any books are sold, on Amazon, for example, or you can go to alcoholfreelifestyle.com/clear.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you. It's there's many a mocktail on a restaurant menu as well, and they're cheaper. There's just an added bonus. James, it has been so brilliant chatting to you. People listening are no doubt going to want to find you online. Where's the best place for them to head to if they're jumping onto Google? What are you going to direct them to?
Alcoholfreelifestyle.com.
Yep.
You'll find everything about me and our coaching there. If you're interested in the book, like I said, you can go to alcoholfreelifestyle.com/clear. There's an audio version of the book narrated by myself. It's about 8 hours. You can
well done.
You can put me on double speed and listen to me in 4 hours if you like. And then the book's available on Amazon, wherever books are sold. And then on my Instagram, it's pretty robust. I put out a lot of videos, inspiring videos about how to rewire your mindset around alcohol. And it's just my name, @James Swanwick.
Oh, brilliant. I'm so sorry I pronounced your name incorrectly in the beginning. So, James Swanwick is, and we'll put all the details in the show notes. James, it is late in the evening for you. You've been so generous with your time and your expertise, and I'm so grateful because you are changing lives, and I know that listeners today, this might just be the turning point for a very different life moving on after listening to us and our conversation. So thank you again very, very much for joining me on the podcast.
Thank you for having me, Jodi. I appreciate it.
Thank you for sharing this time with me on, well, hello, anxiety. Remember, understanding anxiety is the first step to managing it. Until next time, be gentle with yourself. Take things one moment at a time. Focus on what you can control and know that you are not alone on this journey. If you found value in today's episode, please share it with someone who might need to hear it too. I'm Dr. Jodi Richardson, and I'll meet you right back here next week.